Here at Helmuth Ford, we are a small town dealership with no hassle and no pressure.
Hi, this is Stacy from Shuttler Insurance Services. Come see me on the east side of the square in Sigourney for all your insurance needs.
The band Brass Pair is playing this Saturday at the Keswick Tavern at 117 South Iron Street in Keswick. Brass Pair will be playing all your favorite hits live Saturday, March 22nd from 8 to midnight, and there's no cover charge. Come have a fun night with Brass Pair performing at the Keswick Tavern this Saturday night.
Present.
Clark.
Here.
Conrad.
Present.
Consent agenda. No, we have to approve or amend the tentative agenda.
Make a motion we approve the tentative agenda.
Second. McLaughlin. Yes. Baker.
Yes.
Lentz. Yes. Schultz.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Conrad.
Yes.
Now we'll do the consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a request is made prior to voting. Okay, I hear no exceptions to that, so can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda. Second.
McLaughlin. Yes. Baker.
Yes.
Lentz. Yes. Schultz.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Conrad.
Yes.
Public hearings, I'm showing nothing. Additional city business. Keokuk County Economic Development, KCED report. Gary, can you fill us in, please?
So last Wednesday we had our all members meeting down at the extension office at the expo, and it was actually quite good. Attendance was a little lower than we would have liked, but the discussion that took place was actually pretty vigorous, and I was really pleased. One of the significant outcomes of that was an initiative that we're going to do as an experiment to pull together some of the local beef and pork producers for a brainstorming session on how KCED could enhance their marketing reach with some sophisticated techniques that have been worked out by Darian at Sinclair. So we're pretty excited about that. That meeting is scheduled as a follow-up for a week from tomorrow. We are going to put up a Facebook page in the next week for the Keokuk County Child Care Network, so we can begin to communicate with the public. There's a lot of activity taking place in Keota. The Keota school board has become very active and helpful. Some of the community groups over there have also become very active and helpful. So I'm optimistic that we're going to see an opportunity to actually do the upgrades in the rooms at the elementary school over there. So that's pretty exciting. I want to acknowledge that the Keokuk County Endowment Fund awarded KCCN $5,000, and we really appreciate that. That's a great start for us. And we also had a really productive session with the SBC. They made us aware of a couple of resources that we were up until now not really familiar with. Specifically the Cirrus group at Iowa State, who are doing some work with AI and agriculture. So we're going to hold a meeting with one of their speakers and invite local producers for a business builder session to learn how to use AI in their businesses. And then we've also learned about an organization called Hub 712, which is currently operating in Carroll, Iowa, and acting as a business incubator, and also has stated goals and objectives and a mission statement that's very similar to ours. So we're gonna follow up with them, maybe do an on-site visit to learn more about how they operate. Other than that, I think that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Next item is discussion on the scheduled meeting, March 28th at 2 p.m. with Helena Hayes at City Hall.
So that's me too. This is informational. I had what I think was a really productive session, meeting with Helena Hayes last Friday in Oskaloosa. And it was just an opportunity to meet her, get to know her. And I thought it was important to do that because I wanted to just share some of the challenges that we're facing as a city as a result of the legislation from last year. And I was also aware of some very similar challenges that were being faced by the county. And so I'm not an expert on county business, but I wanted to take the opportunity to make her aware that both the cities plural, and the county, the people that I dealt with, were really struggling with some of the tightening of the belt that needs to take place as a result of the lower of our constrained ability to levy. So she was very interested. We also talked about a number of other topics, but one of the things that came out of this of the conversation, because I was looking for something that we could actually do to work cooperatively and to build a relationship. So she had shared that she didn't really have any direct experience with city budgets. And so checked with Ashley, and we offered to spend a few hours with her on the 28th to go through the city budget, give her an opportunity to see some of the challenges that we're faced with, get a chance to look at the structure of the budget, and just hopefully educate and answer some questions. She was very excited about that idea, never having served in the city government. So I think it's a great first step. And speaking just for myself, I think it's really important that we get some insight as to what's happening in Des Moines. I think it would be very beneficial for us so that we're not just surprised. And to the extent that we can generate a voice in Des Moines, I think it's to our advantage as well. So we're going to meet on the 28th. This is an educational session for her. I mentioned it to Stephanie and Ed and Jimmy, so they were aware of it. I don't know that it will be all that exciting a meeting, but being aware of it, I think is a good thing. So if anybody has any questions or comments, let me know.
Okay, if none, go on to Park and Recreation. Discussion and possible approval ordering 3 trash receptacles for Legion Park.
So the Park and Rec Committee met, and it's park season again. And so in order to keep our parks nice and neat and clean for our residents and people using the parks, we need to have trash bins out there for them to put their water bottles or garbage or wrappers, whatever. And currently we do not have any out there, and there haven't been for several years. And so we would like to order 3 for the Legion Park, and then we talked about putting 1 at Town Square Park as well. So, and since we met, we found out that the city shop has a trash bin that we can use, so we don't need to order a 4th one, but we would like to order the 3 using local funds. They are $826 each, so we would like to ask for lost funds in the amount of not to exceed $2,700. And then we would also like to ask that the trash bins be placed in the parks beginning like March 1st and then picked up December 1st on an annual basis, just for those that are using the parks. So,
What kind of bins are we talking about? Round ones or red ones or what?
they, like the ones on the square.
Oh, okay.
Except they're blue in color, big service mounted, You don't have to put any cement in there or anything. It would just be tethered to the ground somehow.
There's an anchoring system
Yeah.
that you get with it.
And then,
I have a question.
yes.
So, are there provisions to these trash cans to keep people from throwing their garbage bags in there?
The hole is not super large, and they're not gonna be nearly dry, so we're hoping.
It's
People
bigger
are
than a
lazy.
water bottle, but, it's not, I mean, you'd have to really jam household garbage down there. And hopefully that would just,
They have to put it in small pieces at a time, is what you're saying.
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
But we would,
Okay.
we would also ask that they be picked up, on at least a twice a week basis as well. Especially
Yeah.
during the busy seasons.
So just had some problems in the past, people throwing their household garbage, that's all I asked about.
Yeah, but there's also problems, with water bottles being left on the ground and wrappers, and you gotta give people an opportunity to throw their garbage away. I guess is how I look at that, I guess. Any
Is the
other questions?
kit just the lid or is that the anchoring system?
I think that's the anchoring system, yeah. The surface mount, that's what they call. Any other questions on
The tops are locked on, so you can't take the tops off.
I believe so.
I think
Yeah.
so, yeah.
I saw that.
I guess I don't know that for sure. I assume so.
You had to Google a lot to get any
Well, if
information.
they're the
Yeah,
same as
you're
what's on
right.
the square, the answer's
Yeah.
probably yes, right? Because we don't have that problem there, do we?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that for sure.
Anything, we'll be asking for padlocks or something.
Maybe.
I would make a motion, we approve ordering 3 trash receptacles for Legion Park using lost funds not to exceed $2,700.
So,
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Housebaker,
yes.
Lentz,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes,
Clark,
Yes.
Conrad.
Yes.
Okay, next, discussion possible approval asking residents to complete a survey on major repairs to the Sigourney municipal swimming pool.
So again, this was a discussion point for the Park and Rec Committee. So I think we all know that the swimming pool has it has been deteriorating for the last several years. And it has come to a point where, we needed to ask French Reniker to give us a bid on what it would cost to repair the pool and everything that's needed in it. And we got that quote last month, and the quote was $1.5 million. And so my first thought is that, we get a committee together, start fundraising, start looking for grants, and in the discussion with Park and Rec's committee, it was brought up, well, do the residents of Sigourney, would they support that? Because, we'll get grant money, I'm sure, and we'll do fundraising, but we'll have to borrow some money. And we don't know if the residents would support that. So the question was brought up, to query the residents to see if they would support the funds that we would need at the pool.
As well as if they would be interested in something different instead. It's kind of you have to fix this, would you want to do this, or would you rather us put funds elsewhere? We don't have it written yet, I was going to figure it out after we got approval, kind of put it together and bring it back. And then see how we were going to disperse it.
And the question there, of course, is the swimming pool is only used 2.5 months a year. Or if we had a recreational facility, that could be used 12 months a year.
Well, I don't think you should even, I guess I wouldn't even put that in the equation, because even if we actually was a recreational facility, would not include a pool. So, but I think a pool, I think it pleases somebody coming into town knowing that there's activities for kids. So I guess there's arguments on both sides, so we just need to figure out what the community wants, and somehow we're gonna have to figure out what the residents of Sigourney want. So that's a place that we can start.
I think asking people is a great idea.
Okay.
Any other feedback though? Is that what you?
You're not talking very loud.
Sorry, is there feedback on how you would like us to query the city? Is sending a survey asking for their opinion? Would you support that, Randy?
Yeah, sure.
There's also talk of maybe having, not necessarily a booth, but something at like the 4th of July, explaining this as well during the festivities, or
I think that's a really good idea.
you sound like you just volunteered to do it.
We get to wear the floaties while we're doing
If
it?
you'd like to, yeah, you
okay.
can wear it appropriately you want.
Well, in what form are you suggesting that we put these queries out there? Mail it to everybody in the city?
So that's,
Probably.
yeah, what we're doing kind of here was, do we have the blessing of council to do that? And then I mentioned that we would, but I kind of have one started, so figure out if it's gonna be a survey we mail, or we have a bucket that you put $1 in if you wanna fundraise. Just kidding. We don't.
We talk about putting in the water bills, but not everybody gets a water bill,
Yeah.
so,
And not everybody gets.
You need to
these,
reach.
but,
and it's a lot. You take the chance of somebody just taking that survey and throwing it in the trash. If you actually have something where the majority of the city is going to be at and walking around, it shouldn't take them but, a few seconds to jot down on a survey, yes they want it or no they don't.
We'd be happy to post it on the KCED website, Facebook page, probably Facebook page would be better.
I'm in favor of getting feedback from the community and sending out a survey. I don't know how when we determine that starts guiding our decisions. So that, how many households are in town? We just hit 1,000. Okay. And so you get back 100 surveys, just as a, and that was 50-50. I'm assuming that people who fill out surveys are people that really care and they have an opinion, and that means that 90% don't. But I mean, we have to be careful when we make our decision. Are we gonna be basing it on the 10% that have an opinion, or the 90% that basically said it's fine, I don't care, whatever, trust you to do it? So, I don't wanna make it seem like,
That's the end all.
yes,
I think the idea was kind of that if absolutely nobody wanted to spend the money on the pool, then or everybody was in favor. But again, yes, we wouldn't, I don't know that we were going to just take it and run. Bring it to our committee, and have more fun arguments.
but I think it's a wonderful place to start. Or finding out if they wanna, what that's out there, they want replaced, or what they want repaired, or what they're gonna do. I mean, 'cause we, took our survey, and that was what we all wanted, so, I don't know how you're gonna catch everybody. I mean,
You're not.
the biggest thing is sending out the flyers, somebody wants one, you have it, be on the front desk, anybody that wants one can come pick one up, They put Harry Butts as the name, we don't have any of those residents, but, you put an address or associate something with it, if they're interested, just so we know we don't get 47 votes from one person.
Any other thoughts?
It does say approval. You want to vote or bring
Yeah, I
it?
didn't know how that needed to be.
Or maybe table it, we discussed it and then table it until we have
That's
Have a
survey.
survey
the
ready.
survey, and then approve it then.
Makes sense.
Okay, discussion possible approval of Sigourney High School students creating a sign for the Sigourney soccer and flag football fields.
So the Park and Rec Committee was approached about having, there are some high school students interested in creating this sign for the soccer and football, flag football field. And so they approached the committee, and there is a senior footprint grant available from Keokuk County Endowment Foundation for $1,000 for a permanent project going to high school students completing the project by the end of the school year. And so the high school students would design and structure the sign and then bring it back to the Park and Rec Committee so that we could look at it and make a recommendation to have it installed. So we went ahead and would like to make a recommendation that the students go ahead and proceed with that so that they can get their project started and completed by the end of the school year. And then if they can't by the end of this school year, then they will do it for next year for the grant opportunity.
Make a motion, we approve the Sigourney High School students creating a sign for the Sigourney soccer and flag football fields.
Second.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Hilsbaker,
Yes.
Wentz,
Yes.
Schultz,
I'm gonna tell you, I didn't hear very much of that discussion, but I think you're wanting to allow the construction of a sign for the soccer and flag football field. Is that correct?
yes.
That is correct.
All right, yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Conrad,
Yes.
Okay, next, discussion of current container ordinance. And I pulled the ordinances out. It's interesting. In 6-4-4 storage, all garbage shall be placed in either a 15-gallon or a 33-gallon City of Sigourney garbage bag, period. All garbage be, or in rubbish be collected from the dwellings once each week. It says, no person shall collect garbage or rubbish except persons unless otherwise by contract or permit approved by the superintendent of refuse and issued by the city clerk. And what this boils down to is we have the ordinance in place that residents cannot have a dumpster. Period. The only ones that can are the ones that have businesses. There's an exemption for them. But private individuals cannot have a dumpster. And that's on our books right now.
from an outside company.
From an outside company, right. And the reason being, of course, varmints getting into the dumpsters. Raccoons are notorious for that. Squirrels, rats, things like that. Personally, I don't like the appearance of the dumpsters in people's side yards or driveways. I think it really brings the city down to see all that. Doug did a survey of the city and found that there are 58, if you remember the number right, 58 people that have their own dumpster from Cox Cable, or from Cox. So they would be in violation of this ordinance. Besides varmints getting into things, the garbage would smell. But to go along with this, private individuals can't have a trailer sitting out there that they throw garbage into and collect it and then take it to Richland to dump it. So that would not be permitted also. And I know at least one person that does that, and he collects garbage from 3 other households, not mine, but 3 other households. So they get to stinking after a while. I know he would make a trip to Richland about every 6 weeks. Sometimes every 4 weeks, but usually 6 weeks. So this would be an attempt to clean up the city, to keep varmints out, and to make the city look more attractive. It's a health thing, obviously.
It's a nuisance.
It's a nuisance, exactly. And I think back when I first moved here, you didn't see very many dumpsters at all in people's yards. And I would say in the last 3 years, there's been a boom of that. And I did have one person approach me on this, and she says, well, your bags are, excuse my language, too damn expensive. And she said, it only cost me $15 a month to have the dumpster there. And I said, well, what does it cost you to have a dump? Well, that's $50. So now she's spending $65 a month for the dumpster. How many bags would that buy? So I think she would still be better off buying the bags. She doesn't think so, but that's the situation we're in. I was
The
hoping,
bottom line here is that we've got an ordinance that's not being enforced, it was written for a purpose. Anything that has to do, we've got situations where there are multiple families using the same dumpster, and they're throwing household garbage in, and that's in violation as well.
right,
Another thing is they're being set in locations that don't belong, on city easement, or not on hard surfaces like our ordinance states, but realizing that our ordinance governs the use of city dumpsters, not from an outside entity, because they don't have, they're not under contract with the city, nor have they had a permit issued for the placement of the dumpster. So it's gotten completely out of hand. I've received several complaints about them, and I would say probably stemming mainly from the locations they're setting, but also the fact that, and I'm sure you've all observed this, if you drive around, the lids aren't necessarily shut on the dumpsters, and so a windy day, there's stuff blowing all over the place. So, the Street Sanitation Committee initiated a conversation on this matter, because that's where it needed to begin. But I do believe that if the council, at least by majority, is in favor of working on enforcement of this ordinance, there needs to be some fees established regarding not only permits, but also violation, and we can take that back to committee and make recommendations if that's what the council wants.
right. And Doug, when he was going around surveying the city, looking at these dumpsters, noted that most of them aren't where they're required to be. They're in the alleys, they're not on a hard surface, or they're in front of a house or beside a house, and besides looking bad, it's a bad health practice. And these raccoons are awfully smart, and they get into those dumpsters pretty easily.
But there's not much sense having an ordinance if you don't enforce it. And we haven't been doing a good job about that. But therefore, it's led to a problem that continues to get worse, and unless we address it, it'll most likely continue to grow.
I've been noticing after the last 3 years, there's been a huge increase in the number of Cox dumpsters in people's yards. And I don't know why the explosion all of a sudden now, but. So this is going to have to go back to street and sanitation. And street and sanitation needs to take a look at our ordinance also, because there's some corrections. in that need to take place.
So we need council's blessing on doing that.
Right. So, we're not asking for a motion at this time, we just need to send it back to street and sanitation.
Seems reasonable.
Any other discussion on that?
Sense.
Okay. Next, discussion and possible approval of estimate number 611 from current construction to enclose shelter on Walnut Street at Old State Shop. Brent?
We've talked about this several times, and we finally decided, instead of tearing it down, it'd be a lot better to just use it as storage for possibly Christmas stuff, to get it out of our way, move it into that, and that's basically what we want to do, is just put sides on it and beef it up a little bit so we can use it as some usable storage.
Make it weather tight,
Yep.
basically.
What shape is the roof in?
The roof's in pretty good shape still. I'd say it's got another 8 to 10 on it.
This,
Shelter to the east, there was
picnic tables under
it
it.
was put up as like a park shelter.
Correct.
It was a project, it was an Eagle project.
Something like that, yeah.
Boy Scout project.
Okay.
So the total is 11, yeah,
11,655.
11,655. Is there any other discussion on that? So I would go ahead and make a motion to approve estimate number 611 from Current Construction to enclose the shelter on Walnut Street at Old State Shop for $11,650 from Moss.
Second.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Hilsbaker,
Yes.
Lentz,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Conrad.
Yes.
Next, discussion and possible approval of estimate number 612 from Kerr Construction to place new roof on garage at City Shop.
The police shed down there, it's needed roof for several years and it just never got done. And the other day when it was raining, it was just leaking in terrible and it's starting to hurt the sheeting in it. And so I just want to get it done just to maintain the building.
What's the roof that's on it now?
It's shingles now,
Okay.
but we're gonna put
Put
steel
steel
on it, yep,
if it's approved.
if it's approved.
Any
Just
discussion?
come out of public safety.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Public safety.
Okay.
No other discussion? Do we have a motion to approve that?
Make a motion to approve estimate 612 from Kirk Construction to place a new steel roof on the garage at the City Shop.
Second.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Hilsbaker,
Yes.
Lentz,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yeah, this is for the second estimate from Current Construction? Is that
yes, yep,
right? Yes.
Clark,
yes.
Conrad.
Yes.
Okay, water and wastewater. Discussion and possible approval of the second half of leading edge invoice in the amount of $28,962.50 for the sewer lagoons hail damage repair.
This is just the second half. We've already paid them half down. This would be the second half. I just got it on there because they're just about halfway done right now. So in 2 weeks, they'll already be done. I just want to get it on there. So pending that they get it done. This
Do we
is
have a motion?
insurance stuff. So.
I move that we approve the second half of the leading edge invoice in the amount of $28,962.50 for the sewer lagoon hail damage repair.
Second.
McLaughlin,
Just one question. Somebody checks that once it's all done. correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
so yes.
Hilsbaker,
Yes.
Lentz,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Conrad.
Yes.
Public safety, I have nothing. Finance, nothing. Human resources, nothing. City clerk, discussion and possible approval to support Barnwire for an emergency catalyst grant for the upstairs apartment.
So I asked Ashley to put that on the agenda for this evening. There's been a new development since Randy and I started to look into this last fall. And that new development is that as a byproduct of the